The unexpected has happened and ZOWIE designed a new mouse. This is the U2, which has a very interesting shape and some other upgrades over their previous mice. The weight can be considered as one of those upgrades as this mouse weighs 60 grams. It's quite a change compared to the EZ2C wireless, and for the size of the U2, it feels very lightweight. Of course, nothing like the ULX or any sub 50 gram mouse, but for claw, it is very enjoyable for me. No trouble whatsoever with the weight balance for me, and the lighter weight has caused no structural quality issues, at least on my unit. The second upgrade then again is the sensor of the mouse, as the U2 is now using the 3395. With this change, ZOWIE has managed very low motion latency numbers for 1000 Hz, a more stable polling rate, and also of course motion sync. The click latency is something that has not improved, as ZOWIE does think that it's not that important, but I for sure would not use the normal setting, as this gives you quite a lot more latency than with any other modern mouse. Overall, their performance and reliability is very good with their new tech, but it does come with a downside, as the battery life does seem worse than with the EZ2. Those are the main upgrades, and talking about the mouse in general, the click feel is kinda good. The triggers were quite stiff when I initially got the mouse, but after disassembly I actually noticed these two screws, and modifying how tight these are actually heavily affects click feel. So after loosening these, the click feel is actually very nice and light, and feels pretty much just like the EZ2C wireless. Other than that, the side buttons feel actually very nice and premium, and the scroll wheel feels pretty much exactly like any other ZOWIE scroll wheel. Let's move on and talk about the shape of the ZOWIE U2, which I mentioned is very interesting and of course very unique as well. The very first thing that you will notice when you grip the mouse are the very curved sides. And the amount of curvature that there is on the side is definitely surprising for me, as it's not really something that I'm used to seeing with ZOWIE. In some sense, the U2 does feel like the S2. For example, if you take a look at the hump of the mouse, it is somewhat similar. But because of the sides, the hand feel is just completely different, and especially if you did love the relaxed claw, the S2, that is not something that I enjoy as much with the U2, as I think that the curvature on the sides makes you guys kind of gives you a normal or natural position for your fingers right here, so you basically have to curl them a little bit for a slightly more towards aggressive claw. On the left side of the mouse below the thumb buttons there is curvature, which kind of feels like a thumb curve. It's very comfortable to hold the mouse in your hand with aggressive claw, especially because your thumb is very locked in below the side buttons, and it's very easy to access both of the side buttons right here. There is really no other mouse that comes to mind that feels quite similar to the U2. As I mentioned, the S2 somewhat does, but really even from these comparisons you can see that they are not that similar. And then again, mice that do have some side curvature like the Lamso Atlantis Mini does not feel at all like the U2 for me. U2 is larger and feels much more comfortable for me to grip than the Lamso Mini. It's pretty clear to me that the mouse is mainly designed for claw grip, and even more so for aggressive claw, as holding your fingers right here on the front right corner does not feel the best due to the huge curve right here. It just feels somewhat unnatural for me at least. Not a huge problem for me, because I always adapt my grip style according to the mouse, so with this one I quite naturally started to aggressive claw it. So basically I'm just holding my fingers a little bit more towards the back, basically right at this curve right here, which is very comfortable and feels very good. So the key takeaways on the shape are the S2-like hump right here on the back side, the huge curvature here on the sides of the mouse, and the sides are slightly diagonal, so they are not completely flat, so this can make the mouse easier to lift. And it does give you with this shape that locked in feeling on the sides, because there is still quite a lot higher profile than some lower profile mice in the front. So there is enough space even on the front right corner, but at least for me it did not feel comfortable. So I just hold my fingers a little bit more towards the back. And by the way, the mouse is by no means high profile from the front, just not quite as low profile as some other modern mice. And that's pretty much it for this one. I mean, the ZOWIE coating is extremely good, very good for my skin type. pretty much the best there is. Maybe the end game gear, the vaccine coatings can battle with that. But yeah, very top tier coating, very overall, very high quality feel. And that's basically what you pay when you get one of these ZOWIE mice. I'm not quite sure what the price is going to be because ZOWIE did not tell anything about the mouse for me. So I had to find out everything myself. So disassemble the mouse, check out the MCU, check out the sensor and stuff like that. And that's something that I actually love about ZOWIE mice, so I have to find out things myself. These were sent to reviewers, I think, in November, early November, so I've had it for 2 months, so there is definitely enough time for me to figure out what's up with the mouse. And that is also a huge positive thing, or a huge shout out for ZOWIE, that they actually let you have the mouse for 2 months before you have to make the review. So it means that I can put a lot of use with the mouse. So any kind of quality issues would come up in this time, which is very, very nice to see compared to some other brands that send you a mouse maybe 1 week before the release. So that's not quite a lot of time, or not enough time in my opinion, to put a full review with the mouse. But yeah, hey, that's pretty much it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it and see you in the next one.